All right, so in this video, this is lesson number 5, little housekeeping matters with this one with regards to the branches and whatnot. If you're using Git then and you want to follow along, you can simply go to git checkout-b lesson 5, or basically when you go to the repository, which will be down in the information below, you can basically view the work done within the lesson, and all the code and the source will be there for you. So at any rate, in here, what we're going to do with the last lesson, what we did in lesson 4 was we started creating our first invoice, and we added a feature here, the ability to select a customer. So this can be this invoice, you could add the information in there yourself, or what you could do is you can go customer and then customer 1, click on that, and then it'll automatically populate it with the customer. What's happening in the background here is basically under customer modal, where you select the form, you'd come in here, get customer, it'll emit an event, customer selected, and then from there we're going to take that value out and basically apply it to our data. So first thing we're going to do here is we have an OnClick. So if we go F12, we are logging this to the console already. I'm going to go ahead and refresh the page though, so we have a clean console to work with. And where are we at? Where are we at? That's just loading. There's one other thing we're going to want to do here, which is quite important, is npm run watch. Oops, not what I want to do. I'm going to go back here, add a second window, npm run watch. Now I am already running MySQL in the background here, so nothing to worry about there. Network is detected. Okay, so something about the fonts being used, maybe a third-party CDN or something, and my internet connection is just not that good. So at any rate, we'll click on customer, click on this customer, and then as you can see, all this information is populated in here. Now this also means that we might switch our values around a little bit. We'll see how it works. Probably there's going to be some refactoring. There typically is refactoring to do in any given project. So, but basically we'll populate it with their address, city, province, country. Everything that's in here will populate with it over there. To make this easier, the easiest way for us to do this is under customer modal. This is where we're going to set our event listener. But to start with, what I'd like to do is we'll create a few data objects. So this one here is going to be called the customer data object, and basically it's just going to match what we have in here. So name is customer 1. In the meantime, however, we're just going to give them empty values, and we'll say address underscore 1. Or address, okay, postal code. So we got postal code, city, province. So where is that coming through here? Oh, interesting. We didn't put postal code as one of the items in there. That's something we'll want to add, but we're not going to take care of that right this second. Actually, probably what we should do is customers controller. No, so that's pulling in all of the customer data. Okay, and we'll open up an artisan tab. Okay. Tinker app models, and we'll just pull the first. I think there was only one entry in there. And look at that. We don't have postal code in there. That's really weird. I don't know how I missed that, but I did. Okay, so we'll go back after and we'll add that. Let's get this part working here first. So we got postal code. We're going to have city. I'm trying to get the data to match exactly to what we have here. So customer, sorry, not this one. We'll go back here. Okay, so city, province, country. So that's pretty straightforward. So city, province, country. What else are we missing? City, province, country. So name, address, postal code, city, province, country. Name, address, postal code, city, province, country. Okay. So far so good in here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bind these values to our inputs using Vue modal. Customer .name. We'll copy this all the way down. Name, this is going to be address 1. This is going to be postal code. City. Province. Country. All right, now we are probably going to run into an issue here. And I'll tell you where that issue is going to land, is we're going to assign customer to this value in here. So this is what's going to happen. We'll create the listener here. So we'll say v on click. No, not on click. V on customer selected equals. Now we're going to run a little function in here, which is going to be what's it going to be? It'll be customer. A couple of ways we could do this. We could create a function. Let's create a function to control our data. Okay. So the function, what are we going to call this function? We'll just say assign customer data, and then we're going to put the event in there. Okay. Methods, assign customer data. Okay. Now we'll call this customer, and basically we'll say this dot customer is going to equal customer. And this should do it, hopefully. If we run into a problem, it's probably going to be because we don't have postal code. Let's actually do this. We'll say this dot customer dot name will equal customer dot name. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5 values, 2, 3. 5 values to assign. Name, this is going to be address 1. This is going to be city. This will be province. And this is going to be country. Okay. And it'll basically assign all of that information in there. So let's give this a go. We'll refresh the page. Again with the loading. I don't know why. So there was some last time I think it had to do with the Google fonts coming in. I'm not 100% sure why, but it just did. And this is all, everything in that view has been compiled down there. So yeah, you can see Google APIs. There's an issue. And you can see it works. So customer one, now it fills everything in for us, right? And we could edit it, that's fine. There might be one other thing I want to put in here. Like, let's say ID. Okay, so we'll say ID equals this, because we know an ID is coming through for this. And we'll just make that basically like a hidden value. A hidden value, customer name. Okay, so let's go input, hidden. We're going to say name equals 4_ID. We might rework this again too. I don't know. We'll see. vModal is going to equal customer.id. And down here, we need to assign customer ID. So ID. Okay. Maybe you trust me it works, maybe don't, I don't know. See how this goes. Oh man, this is a real pain with Google and their API. There's some things I don't like to do, like, yeah. Boy, that is a pain. Okay. For ID, so you can see in there the value is 3, and it's a hidden value. So that's coming through perfectly fine. Okay, we'll go back to our thing. So you can see, yeah, it populates in here. That's great for all this. Now, one other thing we can do is we're going to want to put a little place to actually add our details now for what it is. I'm just trying to think here too. From we should automatically populate, in my opinion, with our details. And so I would say for that, let me see here. We could put it in a config file. That's one option. So let's go. Where's our config? Okay, config. Let's go to, what would be a good name to name this? Create a config file, and we'll say new file will be, oh, you know what? It looks like we already did maybe in the last one. Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, that's already in here, so that's great. So we need to populate that as well, right? When we first load this up. So let's do some model binding there. We'll say, so customer, so let's do one called company. Okay. We don't need to do a company ID because it's our company. Something we might do in the future, I guess. Probably not, actually. We won't have to ever worry about an ID, I don't think, for the company itself. But what we do need to do is create the route for this. So we'll create a method that goes and we'll call it getCompany. And this is going to get our company, basically. And what we'll say is axios.get. And let's see what we're using in terms of routing here. Admin, company, data. Okay, that'll be fine. Admin, / data / we'll say details. Dot then response. Okay, got that done. Okay, that gets rid of that. And axios.get admin company data details, then response. Just for testing purposes, we'll put in our response dot data dot company. And oops, a little issue there. And let's go to customers controller. No, we'll come back up here. Let's common navbar. No, we don't need that. App.js. Do we have it open right now? Customers company. Okay, so this isn't actually. We can make this really short and sweet. Admin company data details. So let's go down to our routes. We'll say web admin company data details. So we'll say company.php. Going to do a primer on this, so we'll say namespace is going to equal admin / company. Not namespace, sorry, that's prefix. Namespace is going to be admin / company. Anything else we did in there? Prefix, namespace. We'll add our middleware after. We'll create a route, and we're going to give this route a prefix of data, a namespace of data, and then we'll put it in a group with a callback function, and that off there. Route get, and if we go back to create invoice, details. Oops. I'm going to call this the details controller. Let's call this, should we call this data company, admin company, data company. Okay, so now what we need to do is we'll open up PHP Artisan, we'll make a controller, admin company, data, company, details, controller. I go Control P and then I start doing my search in there, right? Public function details will return config company. This should work for us. Let's quick and easy way to test this out would be admin company data details. Not found. Admin company, data details. You know why it's not found? Kind of a rookie mistake here. We need to create a route to it, right? So company, namespace is going to be company. Name, you guessed it, it's going to be company. And then group is going to be base path routes / web / admin / company dot PHP. Okay, let's see what that returns now. And that returns it. Okay, so how quick that was. It's awesome. Pulled it out of a config file. We're good to go on there. Okay, now let's go back to our create invoice. We know that the data will be brought in. Let's when it's mounted, let's pull that in. So we'll call get company. And let's bind our stuff in here. So let's go back here. So we got name, address, city, province, country, postal code. Okay. So name, address, city, province, postal code, name, address, city, province, country, and then we'll do country as well. So is everything in there? Name, address, city, province, postal code, country, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, okay. So everything's in there now. That's great. Now, let's see if this data is coming through. It should be. I mean, do we really need to do this? I don't know. Undefined. What happened? Oh, yeah, I can tell you exactly what happened here. So, company details controller, return. We want to return a response. We want that response to be JSON. And we want it to be company. Equals config company. Okay. Now let's come back here. Okay, now we're actually getting something in here. So from here, easy enough to do. We go create invoice. Comment this out. Shouldn't actually need this any longer, but let's do this dot company equals response dot data dot company. Okay, good to go. We'll load this up. Okay, other thing we need to do is we need to do some modal binding. So we'll say v-modal is going to equal company dot name. Address, postal code, city, province, country. All right, let's do this. Refresh. Okay, perfect. Everything's in there. And all of these values can be changed now. And we can click on customer in here. Click on the customer. That's going to populate the details as well. And later on, we'll go in, we'll create more information. One other thing I'd like to do is create kind of like a clear button, like clear the details. So let's create a little function in here. We'll call it clear customer data. Okay. And it's going to be this dot. So fairly simple. We're just going to do this. And customer ID. Okay. We'll copy that so we can just go like this. And we can get rid of all of it. And then what we want to do is we'll add another button up here. So right here it says button span flow rate. Okay, let's break this up a little bit so our code looks a lot cleaner. Okay. Span .btn .btn-sm .btn -warning dot -right. Now there might be some spacing issues, so we'll say v on click equals clear customer data, and we'll say clear this out. One thing I do know for sure is I want the clear button to be left of the customer button, and when we're doing float right, that happens there. Okay, so let's put some margin right on this one of 2. 2 might be a little much, but we'll see. Nope, that looks good. Okay, cool. So let's try this. Customer 1, that fills, and then we can clear it out. So we make a mistake. That's really easy now to manage. Okay, looking good so far. So probably one other thing I want to do in here. So we got the from, the invoice information, the issue date, the due date, the subject, the for. What else do we want to do in here? We can. I'm going to create a line break. Where does this div go to? This div goes all the way to. So this is a row div, and then this is a column 5 div. So, okay. So this is an dot row, and this is an -2. Okay. That is pretty clear to me now. So let's put our HR right in here. One tweak I'd like to make is like, maybe when you finish with this in here, and then you click down here to the other forms, inputs, things like that, all of this then scrolls up. That might be an option. For now, I'm going to bypass that. I'm not going to worry about that so much. Now, let's go back to our migrations. I want to see what our database looks like. It's been about 5 days since I was last on this project. So create customers table, create failed jobs, passwords. Okay, so it's just a customer table. What we need to add now, I would say, is an invoices table. The invoices table, though, there's a few ways we can do this. One, we could create kind of like the general invoice detail information. So that would hold, like, say, the company and the customer, and then, like, say, all of these details up here. Okay. What else? So yeah, we basically hold invoice ID, issue date, due date, subject, from, for, all of that. And then what we would do is we'd have a separate table that would have, say, call it like an invoice items table. Invoice tax table, invoices total table, and then under metadata we could store that information once the invoice has been created, updated, things like that. We'll see. Okay, for now, let's go ahead and create that migration. Sorry, we need to go make. And we'll do this as a model, first of all. And that goes into the models folder, and this is going to be invoice. Oops. That's silly. Okay, sorry, let's do that again. We'll run this command again, but we gotta do migrate. Okay, create invoices table. So, let's go invoice. That matters so much. We'll go to create invoices table. Assign table. And we need to add all this stuff in. So we'll have the invoice ID. So we're going to have an ID in here that's going to be incremental, which is good. But then we'll have kind of like an invoice ID slug or something. So we'll call this a string because we might label it with like letters, numbers, whatever in there. We're also going to want a way to do like, what do you want to call it? Well, we'll want a system to basically be able to add things in here. So for now, I'm going to say ID, and then we're going to call this the invoice underscore. Yeah, we'll do that for now. Say invoice underscore ID. $sign table. Let's see here. We'll go back in here. Okay, so issue date. So this one's going to be date. Issue underscore date. Okay, $sign table. Date. And we want to say due date. None of this information we really want to be optional. All right, we'll say string, which is going to be subject. String, okay, then we'll want to say a string here for the from. $sign table is going to be string from underscore address. And you may have noticed we'll create some of these as nullable, so basically like optional ones, right? But you may have noticed we're going to follow what's in the names here for the naming of our rows. So we have from. I do want to add from. We'll say from name. Yeah, okay, that's how I want that to look. So from address, let's see here. So we gotta go back, we gotta say from name. So this is why, one of the reasons I like to build my forms out first, right? In some instances, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but especially with these initial stages with everything, we'll say from underscore postal underscore code. let's do this. From address, from postal code, from city. Okay. From province. Oops. And then it should be from country. Okay. Now we want to go with for underscore name. That might require that we come down here and change things. Yeah. Name. So we got address, postal code, city, address, underscore city, province, country, city, province, country. Okay. That should be all we need for this. Except for name, I want to have at the very least for name. And you know what else I want in here? I do want for email. We'll make this nullable, but this might be something nice for when we actually go to, say, mail the invoice off. Now we have an email address that we can use in it. So name, address, postal code, city, province, country, email. One thing I want to do here then is we'll go back down to our config file. Okay. Let's put an email in there so it sends the email through. And for now, we'll just say email at admin.com. Let's tidy up that white space a little bit. Let's add to our create invoice for country. Let's see though. So we got email. PHP. Yeah, okay, so that will spit out an email then. So that's perfect. Easy enough. Let's say email in there. And then let's say so I mean, like, there's a few places we have to add information. Company response data, company. Company will put email in there as well, otherwise it'll throw an error. What else? That says country there. So let's go back up here for email. We'll say email. What else? -9. Dash control. Let's give this a name equal to email, and we'll say the modal equals. Okay. There we go. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that now. Let's see what happens when we go to get our customer. Everything fills in as it should. We'll clear that off. Perfect. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to have another widget in here. I'm going to call this Invoice Items, which means we're going to have to do import items from, how are we structured here? Partials, customer modal, for form. Okay. So let's create an invoice items .view. We'll get this template fired up. And everything compiled nicely for us in there, so that's good. Now what we want to do under invoice items is we need to do a script tag in here. Sorry, export default. Just to give you an idea, this is kind of how I want it to look. So we'll say an H5 of invoice items. Okay. And I'll just put mounted in there. What else do we need to do in here? We're going to need to do data return. And then we'll say items. Right now it's just an empty object. I don't know if that'll take. We'll see, I guess. Methods. And then we'll have like an add invoice item method. Sorry. Okay, that should work better now. Added. Okay. And just to give you an idea of what this would look like is we'll say like item underscore name equals, we'll say widget 1, item underscore cost. We could put a decimal value in here. We'll say $255.00. Item name, I guess item name or item description will be fine in there. Let's go item description. Probably building the invoice is where we're going to spend most of our time anyways. This is probably like a 3 or 4 hours to put this together, I would think, with all of that. Now let's go and say, how do we want to do this? Let's create a container, first of all. We'll call this container items-container. And then in here, we'll say div v4 equals item in items. v-bind key is going to equal item.id. Yes. Item. Let's say here, item underscore count. We'll say 1 for now. We're gonna default that to 0 afterwards. And then we'll say this dot item count. Okay, we should be good to go there. And then underneath here, I'm just trying to think here. Probably do this as like a dot row. We'll do dot column dash 9. Okay. And then dash 3, which gives us 12 in total. And then I want to put item underscore name. Item description, actually. Then in here, I want to do item underscore cost. Actually, okay, let's go 8 here. And then we'll do a dot column dash 1 in here. And we'll say item dot ID. Okay. Item.id. Now under invoice items, I'm going to create a dot. And then that's going to be add item in there. Let's see how this works for us. Okay, so I think what I forgot to do is under create invoice, I need to put cannot read property ID of undefined. So that's probably a problem with this component here. Okay, let's do this. We'll say 1 for now. I'll put 1 in here. That's pretty much the same thing. What's going on? Oh, silly. That's a rookie mistake. Okay. What is going on there? Shouldn't have to do that. It doesn't show a problem. Okay. So in order to test this data, because normally what I would do is I would actually push the data onto this. In this case here, you keep this as is, and then we'll actually provide a kind of an index for the next object within this object. So we have 1, which matches here for items underscore count. I mean, we could put 0 as well, and that would be fine. But we'll go ID. We're going to go description. And another description in there. Okay. And let's refresh this, see what we come up with. Still got issues. Okay. Does item.description, item.cost. Okay, there we go. Let's see what we left with. Okay. That works. Let's invoice items. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Okay. Okay. Let's how do we want to do this? I might turn this into a table. I'm not sure. In the meantime, we could do see how this looks with an H5 under it. Okay. How does that look? H1. And then 255 would be for yeah, we'll do this H5 as well. But we need this to turn out to be a no matter what, we need it to be like to have a decimal point, right? Let's add a $sign in here. Add a $sign in there. And then what we'll do is we'll just say get cost. We'll say get cost, and then we'll say we'll return cost dot to fixed, and we'll return 2 points there. Okay. Let's see how that looks for us now. Oop. Return cost dot to fixed. I wonder why it's not. Oh, okay. Duh. We need to put that in the get cost function. Method, whatever. Okay. And there we go. Okay, so we got that in there. Now, you know, one thing we are going to do, I'm going to remove the ID from here. Am I going to remove the ID from here? Yeah. I think I am. I'm going to remove the ID. So we'll remove this from here. Make that simple. Actually, no. We'll say 7, 3. So 7, 8, 9, 10. We're left with a space of 2, basically. So 2. We'll say dot column dash 2. And we're going to create a little button group in here. So we'll say .btn dash group. And then we'll say button .btn .btn dash small .btn dash danger. And I want to delete this one potentially. Delete, and then let's say we'll do edit. And this is functionality we'll hook up later. Okay, so we got delete, we got edit. X edit. Okay, doesn't look super pretty right now. I mean, we could do better with if we had some icons or something. So we might pull in some free icons down the road. And you know, I'm looking at this. I'm really not liking how that looks. So let's do this. Let's go. We'll say table dash sm dot table dash hover dot table dash borderless. No, let's see how that looks. I'm just going to use tbody in here. v-for item in items. Item. So I think I changed my mind. No. No, I won't. So we'll say tr. Yeah, we'll see what it looks like bold. We'll get cost. Dot cost. And we'll do another group here. Okay. I think I'm comfortable just deleting this. Let's see if we broke anything. Did we break anything? Value is key. Okay, well, I mean, we could just use item dot description for now. There we go. Let's put a $sign before this as well. Okay. And I think what we should do here with the add item is we should have a modal in here. So for now, let's go to Bootstrap and let's pull out some modals. Um, 0.01 on there. And we'll say item underscore cost. Okay. I'm going to put these in basically after. And we'll say item underscore cost. And for now, we'll give that a value of this. Description is going to be that value as well. Now, oops, you know what? We don't need to switch between anything here, really. Item description. Add item modal. So we'll say data dash toggle for the modal, because we're using Bootstrap. We're plugging into jQuery, right? So data target equals hashtag add item modal. And this should, oops, make our modal appear. Oops. Boy, that's odd. Maybe that's because there's like a form in there or something. Yeah, it would be part of a form. Oops. Okay, let's try this. Okay, there we go. So oh no, now we need to put like a span button in there. So really all this stuff needs to be span. Then we need to add like a span button, right? So span. And we'll say add item. Okay. Make this even simpler here. And then we're going to say basically the on click equals add item. And this should be simple enough. So add item. We have the item underscore count as 1. Item as, you know what I'm going to do in here? I'm going to add ID back in here. Might be a couple other ways to do this for sure, but for our use case, I'm going to say, so item underscore count 1 items, one, item cost, item description. So we want to take the cost and the description and we want to push it into a new one. So first thing we're going to do is we'll say this dot item underscore count plus plus. It's going to increment it by 1. Yay. Happy about that. And then what we'll do is we'll say this dot items item underscore count. It's going to be equal to, we'll say ID, and that'll be this dot item underscore count. Description is going to be this underscore description. And then cost is going to be this dot item underscore cost. Okay, so this should work for us. Let's see how this goes. Add item. Add item. But that is odd. What is going on? Add item. Vue OnClick. Okay, so that worked. The ID is this.item.count. Okay, so let's say, oh, you know what? No, I did add the Vue modal in there. Item description, item cost. Item description, item cost. So let's see this dot okay, so that is coming through. Okay, so I don't know if it's obvious or not, but I'm getting tired here. So this is actually an object. We need this to be an array. That's my first mistake. Do you believe? Okay, so it'll be an array full of objects, basically. And let's go back here. We'll refresh the page. Okay, so this still spits out properly. Now, I'm going to go down to add item. So we know that it's actually pushing properly, but what we need to do is you need to add items.push in here. So instead of items, whatever it is, then that we'll actually do items.push because we're working with an array now properly. So it should have been from the start. So that'll push. Okay. And we'll add the item. So we'll say this is a description. And we'll say this. Oh, it has to be a number. We'll add Okay, now we run into a problem. So it says cost.toFixed is not a function. And that's probably because we need to actually parse it. This number is a float because it's probably coming through as text, basically. It's how JavaScript is reading that. So under cost here, we'll go parse float cost. Let's see what happens now. Okay, this spits out. That's a good sign. So we'll say, okay, so item description. We'll say this is a widget, and then we'll click on add. Okay, so that adds down to there, basically. Okay, perfect. So this is good. We're getting there. We're getting there. So now we can basically add unlimited items to our invoice items here. So let's say one other thing we want to do actually. Let's refine this a bit here. Once those items have been pushed, then let's go like this. Underscore cost. We'll set those values back to nothing. This dot item underscore description equals nothing again there as well. Okay. And then the other thing too I want to do is I want to take our modal, which is add item modal, and I want to close that basically. Nope, sorry, modal. .toggle. Add item modal, modal .toggle. So that's going to basically shut our modal off after we do this. Okay. So let's refresh here. Let's add an item. So this is a description. We'll add. Perfect. There's one other thing actually that we can do here. So I know I did items, I know I did parse float, but probably what should happen here is we should put the parse float onto this item. And that should solve our problem there actually. So let's just continually making some refinements here. Now we don't have to run parse float, because the other problem too is I was just thinking this data value actually has to be a floating point data value. I don't want when I run the method to calculate the costs or to recalculate the costs, I don't want to have to turn every number that's under cost back into a float or a decimal value. So that's why I'm doing it this way. Parse float, it's going to go into our object as a float value number. Okay, this should work. So let's, shouldn't have to cross our fingers. We'll say widget 2, click on add, perfect. Okay, so that works in there too. Okay. Another thing we want to add in here is ultimately we're not going to have any items in there to begin with, so what we're going to do is we'll say calculate totals. Oops, daisy. So calculate totals. Under calculate totals, we want to take, so we have add item, calculate totals. So we're going to run this every time after. Calculate totals. Now under calculate totals, oops, under this calculate totals, we're going to want to take, basically run this dot data dot for each. Let's call this one item. This dot for each item. We're going to say total, but we'll actually call this one sub total. For now, it's going to equal 0. And then in here, we're going to say and then we're going to take item dot, no, we'll take total plus equals item dot cost. Okay. Now let's see what happens here. Oops. Total item dot cost. I don't know why I did data in here. I don't know what's wrong with me. Like I said, I'm tired. I'm going to cut this video off at some point here. All right, let's see what happens now. Okay, because we're not adding anything in there, but it's spitting it out, so that's good. So we could probably do this, right? Run this again. Widget 2. Okay. So 255 and then 123.02. So yeah, so this works then, right? So we'll say total plus equals item dot cost. And there, let's run this through one more time. One other thing we're going to do here is, because we'll probably use this view as our editing view as well, if we end up passing some data value through invoice ID or something, for example. So I'm going to say this dot calculate totals. It's going to happen basically every time we reload. Okay, 255, that's awesome. Let's do widget 2. We'll add that on in there. Okay. Let's do this. We want to go console.log total. So we want this dot total to equal two fixed equals 2, and then let's console.log dash total. Wow, I am this isn't good. This is me confusing JavaScript with PHP because I'm tired. All right. So okay. So you see there it calculates it properly. 255, 32, 32. That's awesome. So this number should go up. This number here should go up again if I add something else. All right, 1073. Okay, 789. That's what I put in there. Now, I do want to put at the bottom of this table in here, let's put a row. I'm going to say dot column dash 9. No. Yeah, no, dot column dash 9. I'm probably going to switch this up tomorrow. So, we'll say span dot float dash, actually, we'll do h5 dot text dash rate. And we'll say total. Do we want to go total? Subtotal. This dot total. Okay. Subtotal. Okay. This dot sub underscore total. Okay, what else? This dot subtotal equals total to fixed to two places, to 2 decimal points, right? Now in here, I want to do sub underscore total. No, I don't want to do that. Subtotal. Then dash 3. And I'll put a span in here, and I'll put an h5 again, .ml dash 3, just to give us some spacing between. There should be some gutters in there for the columns and whatnot, but now we'll go sub underscore total. Okay. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so 255. Oh, let's also do this. And just in case, we can run. We shouldn't run into this problem. I mean, one thing we could do here is we don't necessarily need to do two fixed in this situation. We can just say total and then take care of it when it shows up here. Okay, so let's add an item. So we'll say widget 2. Add, okay, so that updates there. Widget 3. Add, okay. So that makes sense there. Okay. What else? So these are, yeah, so I mean, so we basically got the beginnings of our invoice in here. Some other things, so with this form, we'll probably, I don't know exactly how I'll submit this, if I'll submit this through Axios in an API call, or I'll just submit a form. The problem is if I submit a form, and there's a few things I can do. One, okay, I'll think about this tomorrow or another day when I'm not, after I get some rest here. So at any rate, so you see we made some more progress on our invoice. Quite a bit that we added in here when you think about it. The ability to add our company information, the ability to add a customer from the customer list, also to be able to clear it. Let's do one other thing, and then I promise that is all with regards to this. Create invoice. It's not on the create invoice. It's going to be in invoice items. No. Customer modal. Yep. Okay. We don't need to spit out the customer information anymore in here. But what we could do is let's get a look at what this modal is. Customers modal. Okay. And then we'll say modal toggle. All right. Let's refresh this customer. Oops, what happened? Modal, so it's a spelling error, which is like 99% of issues. And again, something kind of related to being tired, so at any rate, I'll stop complaining. Okay, there you go, customer. We can clear that up. Okay, so far so good with our creating an invoice here. And yeah, things are coming along. Again, this is going to be the brunt of the work that has to get done, right? A lot of things are going to live, a lot of the time using this application are going to live in this view, essentially. Creating invoices and then checking statuses, things like that. But with that, I'm going to close out here and call it a day.